In this video, we're going to learn how to use gradients in Photoshop. So the first thing I want you to do is to create a new document. Make it 400 pixels by 400 pixels, 72 for the resolution, RGB for the color. The first gradient we're going to learn is a linear gradient. So on your new document, you're going to go over here and find the gradient tool in your toolbar. I have it highlighted. And you can edit that in the Gradients tab, which you can open under the Window menu, or you can edit it under the Properties tab, which you can also open on the Windows menu. And you can also edit it at the very top in the control strip. So those are the three main places you can edit your gradient. So I'm going to go ahead and drag a line across my screen with the Gradient tool selected. And you can see over here on the right, on the properties, it also made a extra layer, gradient fill layer, and I'm going to edit it from there. So I'm going to choose linear for the gradient. And when I click on the gradient in that tab, it opens up this gradient editor. And what you can do is move these things called stops around. On the certification exam, you're going to get a diagram of this right here, and it's going to ask you what those four little squares on each edge do. So I'm going to explain what they do. If you click on the bottom left, that changes the color. If you click on the right, bottom right, it changes the color. And then the top squares are for editing the opacity stop. So if you want your blend to fade into nothing, you just lower the opacity on either one of those top squares. So the bottom is the color and the top is the opacity. So when you click on the color square at the bottom, you can choose a different color. And if you want to add an extra stop in there, just click on the bottom of that color bar and you can choose another color to add into your blend. You can slide these stops around to change the blend, or you can put in an exact location, which I believe that's how they ask you on the test. And then you can move these little triangles or diamonds that are in between the blends. Those control how fast or slow the blend happens. If you accidentally click and make some squares that you don't want, just pull down and it will delete those. That's a very common thing that happens. Okay? So when you have that the way you want, just go ahead and press OK. And then you can further edit that the same way with this little line that the gradient tool gives you. So you can pull out this line. You can change the color stops there on your line, just like you could in that gradient editor window. You can also just do it right here with the gradient tool selected. It does the same thing. All right, so over here on properties, you can change the types of gradients, radial gradients, linear gradients, all the different ones you can edit there. And also at the very top control strip, you can also edit those same features up there. To save your gradient, click the plus sign, and then you can name your gradient. And that way you can use it for something like later on in your project. You can go back and access it up there. All right, and then the second kind of gradient we're going to do is called a radial gradient. So once again, you're going to get the gradient tool and just drag it across your window. You can see the ones that we had in there. Let's go ahead and just pick one that's already in there. So go up in those folders, choose a gradient, drag it across. It's going to automatically be linear because that's what we did before, but I want you to click the radial button. So you're going to change this to a radial gradient. So remember, you can do that in the properties panel or at the top control strip. So you can move these points around on your gradient to control how big the circle is, or you can move those little diamond slider in the middle to change how fast or slow the blend goes. And then over in the properties panel, you can click on one of those color stops and change it, or you can do what you did before, click on the layers, click on the blend, and you can change the colors there. This is how they ask you to do it on the certification exam. So pick a new color to put in that blend that you started off with. And once you're done, you can go ahead and save this gradient too as your radial gradient. All right, so that's the second one. The third one is doing a gradient on a layer style. So I went ahead and on my document, I typed the word silver using the font Impact. I want you to pick a font that's bold, so use Impact, and then choose the layer blending mode of, or the layer style of gradient, and you can edit that just the way you did the other gradients. So what we're going to do here is make at least 5 or 6 color stops that we're going to change to different shades of gray. So make the first one kind of a medium gray, and then make an almost white color for your next one, and just go ahead and change those. I've sped this up to just different light grays and dark grays and whites in between. And then say okay. And then I want you to change the angle. So in that layer style window, just change the angle so it's kind of at a different angle, so it's not just straight. And then the last thing that you can do to this that looks kind of cool is to go ahead and add another effect there called bevel and emboss. So you're going to want to play around with these settings and see what they do. You don't have to copy mine exactly. You can see that I just kind of experimented around with the different options. So find one that you like, and when you're done with the one that you like, you can just go ahead and add a drop shadow to it. That looks kind of cool too. All right, so those are the 3 types of gradients that I want you to do, and you're going to save 3 JPEGs of all those 3 gradients and turn them into your portfolio.